living with your family and things like that. But even so, there's probably a lot of things that you didn't plan on or anticipate by doing this. I guess what was some of the things that caught you off guard that you didn't expect when you made that move?
Yeah, well, I think one of the main things, or the biggest, maybe, yeah, the biggest thing, is that we started with a ambitious project. I mean, a really big game we wanted to make, and just kept planning stuff we would have to add. And well, it took 2 years to realize we were not gonna finish that project.
Mm.
It was not Trials of Arthur Score, of course. It was a previous project called Bessel that we had to cancel. And yeah, so we were very stressed out because we were not getting results, and one of the team members just abandoned the team.
Mm.
So we felt that we could not continue with that game, and with my other partner, we kind of regrouped and planned a game a bit more little, which is Trials of Asra, and we spent another year making that one, but this time it was more carefully planned and less ambitious.
Nice. Yeah, it's like if there's a common denominator I hear just other people out there talking to especially first time devs, it's the one like a common piece of advice that's out there is don't make the project too ambitious. And it sounds like that was really even though it was about 2 years of time, it was still ended up being a very valuable experience. And I think that's really important too, because I know a lot of the questions I prepared aren't necessarily directed towards this, but clearly what you're saying too is having a good sense of the vision of the project and making sure it's within a reasonable scope for, I guess, your team size and the skill sets and everything else that you have. Because that took 2 years of time to figure out it wasn't going to work. Um,
Yeah.
but you came back from that with Trials of Azra, and then you guys made that game in a year, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it was definitely not a waste of time. We learned a lot in those 2 years, and if I see it now, seeing back, yeah, I take it as a learning experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say so too, because I mean, I think that says a lot too. Like, just it was 2 years to develop this one project, and then the next project you implemented, you cut that time in half. So I think that in itself is a success right there. Not to mention in terms of anything else that you've might have gained after its release and things like that. So going through that process, how was it then this time around? Before you started to, because okay, well actually let's I understand there might be a gap here, and I want to make sure we address it. A gap in terms of you released Trials of Azura. What happens after that? Did you go back to work? And then at what point did you start creating Dun Jungle?
Yeah. So after Trials of Asra, well, it was not a commercial hit. I was very happy with the game. I think it was well received, but it was just uh, not a commercial success. I mean, I could not live off it. So yeah, I came back to work in an office, just not related to game dev.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then at what
oh,
point did you start Dun Jungle? So you released the game, you went back to work, and then how long was it until you started your current project?
well, it was like 4 years, I think. I mean, 4 years into this new company,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
which was great. I mean, I was working with friends, really having a good time. But then the pandemic hit, you
Yep.
know, and I suddenly was at home having a lot of spare time, and I got into game dev again. And I remember how much I liked it, and I started to have a lot of fun with it to the point which my current work was not motivating me anymore. I wanted to make games and not just develop in Salesforce or whatever.
Awesome.
And so yeah, I started working in Don Jungle just at my spare time, and then I talked about going part time in the company, which I could, and yeah, just slowly putting more and more time and energy into Don Jungle until the point I decided to go full time.
And I think that's probably, I mean, especially in people in wherever circumstances they're in and everything. But I think in your case, that was kind of, could you say it was helpful to have that time to kind of like take a break from development, but then essentially like rediscover that passion again? Because it sounds like it gave you enough of a recharge in a way to really tackle the current project on Jungle head on, so to speak. Do you think that time though was helpful?
Yes, I mean, I think it was helpful. I don't know what would have happened if I continue with game dev after Trials of Asra. Just life took me to a yeah, to another path.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't very much planned. Um, I don't know. It's hard to answer. I mean,
Oh yeah, of course.
I would really like to know where would I be now if I continued my journey through game dev. But I think I'm in a good place, so I have no regrets taking that break from game dev.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and I would say in most cases like that, I don't think people should because again, like time away sometimes because the potential issue here, of course, is like if you're really passionate and put all that energy nonstop, you only have so much after a while. I mean, everybody has, I'm sure, different levels, right,
Yeah,
of their passion meter, if you will. But it can be draining, and the last thing you want to have happen is just to get burnt out. But so throughout that process and everything else, and when you finally made the transition to go part time and then now full time, essentially, um, what was that process like in terms of being prepared for making this move? How did it differ from when you first decided to quit your job and go full time?
well, this time I have already a big portion of the game already developed.
Nice.
I yeah i i learned how to be more organized. I have my calendar set with milestones. I play tested early. I'm happy with what I have right now with the game, and I'm keeping the scope doable for just one person.
Mm,
And well, yeah, that already is a lot different. And also I have freelance work on the side and just helping with my girlfriend's business to basically to pay the bills.
nice.
So I'm taking it, I would say, more slowly, not putting that much pressure in having the game be a success.
Right. It,
Yeah, so it's not as draining as before, I would say.
and I think that's a key component because one thing that I think developers, especially developers with only their first game or even a couple, it's about sustainability, right? Especially if you're
Yeah.
going full time, and, and I know we talked about this on the show before too with other guests, but finding other means to being sustainable, and not only that, I think it's kind of like what we were talking with about you taking that break and then getting back into it by you helping out in different things, like with your girlfriend's business, with you doing some side work and stuff, in addition to development, it's enough that yes, you're taking it a little bit slowly, but still you're being sustained to meet the bills and everything else that you need to live, but still having enough. You're doing enough of those things to make that work, and then also having still, it sounds like, a good portion of your time dedicated to the project, which you absolutely love. So it sounds like you're having like a really good balance there, which I think is really interesting because, like you said, you're not going as full force before with the project, but it makes sense because it's just you, pretty much,
Yes.
right, doing the project. So yeah, I like that approach that you're taking. I mean, I'm sure other people could, disagree in some senses and stuff, but I think with your history and your experience before, you're not necessarily either concerned that this is going to be a project that's going to last you years either. And plus, I've seen what you've had so far, and actually, that's how we started talking was on Twitter. But like the type of progress you made with that, with the game and the state it's in, it's looking really good too. So
Oh, well, thank you.
yeah, of course. Now you mentioned about we talked about how you're able to supplement your income. I'm just a little bit curious for freelance stuff. What type of stuff are you doing, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, it's mostly programming.
Okay.
Yeah, coding. I would like to do as well some pixel art work, some animations, but still I haven't started getting much work
Hmm.
on that side yet. But yeah, I'm kind of beside coding, trying to explore more artistic sides. And I think having some freelance work related to art also will make me improve the art for my own game. So I'm trying to get a bit of that as well.
Nice. Now, and I like how you're also trying to do things like you're doing different things, but you're trying to focus on areas that you probably enjoy a little bit more too. And maybe that might not produce as much income as other things that you have skill sets and experience to, but you're still making that a point to do the things you really enjoy. And again, it kind of goes to your whole approach or your messaging from the beginning, which was, you know, do whatever you can to find something you're happy with or know that. And I think that's I think is just a really smart way to go about doing things. And too often we think that we can't do those types of things, but I think you're living proof that you can.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's really, really, really important. I mean, I think you have to know when you wake up that you want to go through your work day. I wasn't feeling like going to work in my old company anymore, so that really made me, yeah, just take the decision.
Excellent. Now, as we're talking about like different ways to supplement income and you're probably really involved with a lot of different things in general. I mean, as you stated, helping your girlfriend's business and working on a project and freelancing. I'm sure it has come up where there has been distractions in general, and then there's just distractions from life too. So I'm just curious, were there any distractions that you faced, as you, especially now, let's focus more on the present while you're working on this project. Are there any distractions you faced that you think surface now that you have kind of like more more time or that you're focusing more on this project?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still learning to balance my freelance work and stuff with my game project. I mean, sometimes I can spend too much time on one thing just because I want to finish something. So yeah, maybe I still need to improve my time management skills. I'm working on that, but I cannot think of any particular distractions right now.
Oh,
Just general stuff.
yeah. But that's an important point too, because sometimes, like, and this is something I face myself too, is you might be